section.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this live Q&A session with Emma Bennett, the Director of Children's Services. Today, myself and our Assistant Corporate Parenting Officers, who will introduce themselves shortly, have devised a series of questions based on what we think matters the most to young people leaving care. So we're going to ask these series of questions to Emma Bennett, who's then going to provide us with some answers that will hopefully reassure you around the things that Wolverhampton Council is doing to support care leavers and people leaving care.
Emma, you're going on now.
Good evening, everybody. Really pleased to be with you all. I wish I could see you all, but Alice tells me that the number's getting bigger, so hopefully we'll have many of you join in. What is the first day of Care Leavers Week, so I think this is probably one of the first events. I think we've had a couple of events today, have we? Yeah. Hopefully I'll be able to provide the responses that you're looking for. If I don't, then please let Alice or Kai know, and Melissa, and they can feed back to me and I can give you a little bit more.
Melissa, you're going on.
Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Moran. I'm Assistant Corporate Parenting Officer and I'm also a care leaver today, and I'll be on the panel today answering the questions to Emma.
And I'm Kai. I'm also an Assistant Corporate Parenting Officer and a care leaver from Wolverhampton, and I'll also be on the panel asking questions to Emma Bennett. I'll hand you over to Casey for the first question. You're live.
So Emma, thank you for joining us again today. So the first question that we've got for you is, how have you been supporting care leavers throughout the COVID-19 crisis?
You're on, Emma.
Thanks, Casey. So that's a really good question, and I suppose something that's at the top of everybody's agenda and everybody's priorities at the moment. I think as a leadership team, I've spoke at length, and we've spoke at length in our team meetings about how you're all doing through the pandemic, particularly during lockdown, when obviously things were really tough, especially for those of you who are living alone and living independently. So it's been really important both for me and our leadership team, but also for the broader council, our cabinet members, as corporate parents, to know what we're doing to support you all and to ensure that you weren't going through things alone. So I know that we've worked hard, and as have our Reach Leaving Care team, and I know now that they're seeing all our young people face to face wherever it's possible. I know that we've been using and communicating with you a lot more through some of other apps, something which I'm really pleased to hear, because it's probably been about 4 or 5 years ago that we made sure all of our social workers and all of our YPAs had work mobile phones to communicate with children, young people and our families. And I think while some social workers and YPAs have, I think that the lockdown has really increased that informal communication with you. So I know that there's been lots of use of WhatsApp and Microsoft Teams meetings to check out and to check how you're all doing. I know that we've directed you when it's needed for additional support using our food banks and also using our prepayment cards more, and that the Reach team themselves have provided their own food parcels support with utilities in emergency situations when you've needed it. In addition, a big thing that we discussed at my leadership team and agreed on was that we felt it was really important that we increased your allowances for the year, in line with the increase of £20 per week of universal credit. And for those young people who are in custody, we've also increased their allowance by an additional £5, just to make sure that they can continue to have contact with their YPAs and other family members so that they're not isolated. We've celebrated our care leavers' creativity with the completion of a song or a rap. We've continued to support the Grand Mentor scheme, and I know I had a report a couple of weeks ago that said in length the work that they were doing through lockdown to change the way that they communicated with you, so to still provide that support, but through the digital platform, as well as still continuing to have some face-to-face contact. We've ensured, and this is something that Kai started, so I think it was probably about 18 months, 2 years ago, that at an Awards he sat next to me and said that all our young people in the flats needed internet access. So I know it took a bit of time, but that was because there were some challenges and we needed to make sure that the health safety issues and safeguarding issues were addressed. But I'm really pleased, I was really pleased to hear that we've issued a dongle for all those in the flat so that you can access internet, and that included with a device for all of our care leavers who are still in education or training. One of the key things that we did earlier on during the pandemic was agree that anybody who was turning 18 could stay in their placement, so that we didn't have to, I suppose, or you didn't have to make those crucial decisions about when you were ready and where you wanted to move at the point of you turning 18. So that's really, really important to hear. And that's helped with our extended social worker offer for those who needed support through their transition. I know that you know, amongst all the support that's been taking place, there's been some really creative ways about how YPAs have tried to meet with you, tried to get you out and about. And the other thing that I was really pleased to hear about recently was how we've now got 3 parent champions for our care leavers who are parents themselves. So that's been something that I know we've talked about as a leadership team for a while, about how we can offer some additional support for care leavers as they're becoming parents, and that's really good. So hopefully that supportive approach will help care leavers become parents, be more confident, about what universal services they need to offer and how they can also seek peer support from other parents who are going through, other new parents.
Okay. Shall I go to the second question?
Yeah.
So statistics indicated that young people in care have lower educational outcomes and therefore struggle to access training and employment. How will you support care leavers' education, training and employment over the next year?
Okay, thank you, Kai. Prioritising education, employment and training for all our children in care and our care leavers is really, really important to me. And as a parent of you all, I want you to do really well. I want you to achieve everything that you can achieve and to have really high aspirations for yourselves. So we work really closely with Darren Martindale as the virtual school head, and I know Darren works very closely with Helen Woodvine in terms of her role around education, employment and training specifically for care leavers. One of the things we've done as a council is just to review our council plan in light of the pandemic, and hopefully you'll be aware that as a result of that, we've reissued or refreshed our plan, and it's called Relighting Our City. And generating more jobs and learning opportunities is a key priority within that. And the idea about that is that it helps our local people and our businesses to recover following the impact of the pandemic. The programme and the things that we're looking at involved in that priority will build on existing initiatives that we've got within the city that supported our young people. So things such as Wolves at Work, Impact Programme are all things that will continue, because for young people in particular, we know that those work really well. But part of what we recognise is we've got to try and address the barriers to employment, skills and training, and listening and hearing from you. And I know that's what we did in our in the takeover day last year, was to listen to your experiences around employment education and training, and to improve and to work out how we can address some of those issues. So the Wolves Youth Offer has been developed to create a package of support to help young people aged 16 to 19 into employment and to retain employment, which is probably the hardest part. It's hard enough to go out and be confident around getting a job, but then to retain that job is really hard. One of the things that I suppose I see my role in is, whilst looking at some of these initiatives that we're doing across the council and across the city, my role is to always make sure that what we're doing is good enough and is accessible enough for you, for care leavers, amongst some of our other vulnerable young people. So, you know, again, in terms of my corporate parent role and responsibility, I want to make sure that you're prioritised within any initiatives, that we're targeting it for you, and that we're making sure that it's meeting your needs in particular. And I hope you will all believe me when I say that. So when we're talking in our leadership team, in the council's leadership team, or when I'm talking to cabinet members, I am always pushing targets and ensuring that it's accessible for you and you're able to meet your needs. So as such, I hope that over the next few months, what we'll have is a robust package of support for care leavers that includes a specialist workbox page for care leavers, and with the support and pathways embedded within there. And I think that's really important. I'm really keen to do some more work with you around this and to really hear from you about your experiences and about how we can improve that. Melissa, next question, I think.
So the third question is, many care leavers struggle with financial literacy and budgeting, with many being unable to know how to read a wage slip or navigate the tax system. How are we going to improve education on finance and budgeting for our young people?
Okay, so this isn't something that's a new issue or a new struggle, and I mean, Casey, quite a bit about this because a couple of years ago we both were filmed by Barclays for a programme that they do around money skills and money management for young people, and part of what they were doing was trying to target care leavers in particular. So I know it's an ongoing issue, and it's an ongoing issue for all young people, not just care leavers. But for you in particular, I suppose, when you face choices around independence, then it's key that we've made sure that you've got the right skills to help you to live independently. So I know that CLIC have put together a great guide on understanding your finances that's on the web page, and together with that, our Reach Leaving Care team and your YPAs have access to support to job coaches and Wolves at Work, who I mentioned above, who specialise in support for care leavers. I also know that there's an ASDAN award that you can complete through the housing support team, and that links to the Barclays Life Skills workshop that I've just talked about. I suppose the other thing is that both the YPAs and the Grand Mentoring Scheme should be able to support you with budgeting. It isn't something that is easy for anybody, and it's something, in my opinion, that we need to be talking to you about as early as possible. So the other thing that we need to make sure is that foster carers, and residential home workers, if children are in residential homes, start to talk and do that work with our young people from an early age. So, you know, starting to make sure that you're responsible for some allowances, that you know, talking through how you spend that, how you budget, will help in preparing you for when you move into independence and you have, you know, a salary or benefits that you are responsible for managing, and have to make sure that you can pay your bills, pay your utilities and food, and have some left over for other things. So something that is really, really important, and something that I hope we can continue to build on. Casey, next question, please.
So we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Emma, and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic is still an issue of controversy at the minute. So in Wolverhampton, how are we going to support our care leavers throughout the recovery of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, I'm afraid we are still in the pandemic, and I think are likely to be in it for some time at the moment. I think I keep referring to this being our new business as usual, because I think it is the way we'll be living. So it is really important that we continue to speak to you, we continue to listen to you and your experiences, and support you. And again, you know, my number one priority is the children that we work with, and in particular our children, young people in care, and our care leavers. So you are top of my priority list in terms of ensuring that you're well supported. The role of the council, I think, is really key, and the Relighting Our City plan is all about, you know, what our role is in influencing and supporting the residents in Wolverhampton. I think part of it is about relationships, and ensuring that you have important and strong relationships with people who you can turn to for that support. So I know historically, and your relationships, particularly with your young person's advisors, have always been really, really strong, as well as for those who are in our flats, the relationship with our housing support team as well. So ensuring that we maintain that is really, really important. We are continuing to see you now face to face since the national lockdown ended. I hope we can continue to do that. I suppose making sure that where we can't do it because of safety issues, or because we've been told nationally that we can't, then we need to make sure that we're using other methods of communication. And just looking after you and making sure that your emotional health and well-being is okay. The other bit for me is, I suppose, just making sure that you have wider support networks and helping you to keep in contact with those wider support networks. And finally, I suppose I'm pleased to see that we've relaunched the focus of our indie group, and there will be some specific sessions that you'll be looking at, so focusing on mindfulness and the importance of mindfulness, healthy cooking, well-being, and budgeting and money management, and the first one is online today, so I'm told. That's exciting. Kai?
So question 5 is, many young people often struggle finding employment after graduating university. How will you support care experienced young people graduating university into employment? For example, ring-fence graduate positions.
Thank you. So I suppose now is probably the toughest time we've ever faced in terms of anybody trying to get a job at the moment. You know, hopefully you will have all heard in the news that unemployment is rising. You know, we know the pandemic is having a huge impact, unfortunately, on businesses, and you know, the government is doing lots to try and keep those businesses afloat. So we've had some fantastic achievements in terms of our care leavers at university. We've got really high numbers of care leavers that go to university, and I know we had 6, I think, that graduated this year, one with a first, another few that had got 2 1s or 2 2s. So you know, you are all doing brilliantly at university, with some others that have started this year as well. But and I know we offer quite a good package of support to you, but it's important that we continue that support when you leave university as well, to help you. For me, you know, we've really strongly promoted extended support for our care leavers up to the age of 25. You don't stop being a parent at a specific age, so we need to make sure that we support you as much as you need us to. And again, the focus within the refreshed sort of council plan, the Relighting Our City, again has a focus on trying to make sure that people in our city are supported to get jobs. So with that in mind, we are doing a few things around targeting support for our care leavers and graduates. Accessing bursaries is one of the first things, and I know Helen Woodvine is doing some work with the University of Wolverhampton around that. So there's a scholarship page that you can get that information from. There are things like applying to the Dennis Harper Hardship Fund for a bursary if it's needed. Financial help to meet things like, I suppose, clothes for interviews, etc. And then access to additional student support services. We're trying to strengthen, and actually I've had a meeting today with Wolverhampton University to really strengthen the local authorities' relationship with the university, both in terms of our social workers that are coming through universities, but also specifically in how we can support the people that we work with. So ensuring that we've got some ring-fenced positions is really important, and we're trying to do that both from an apprenticeship, the traineeships, right through to graduate positions. One of the pieces of work that we've done most recently is look at the and to challenge the LGA. So we get a number of graduates from a programme that the local government association provide, and we've challenged the LGA back around what are their principles and their support specifically to target care leavers. So we're pushing that and moving away slightly from that to recruit our own graduates and to provide our own graduate scheme. So part of, again, me and my role when we're looking at things like that as part of a senior leadership team is to challenge, well, what are we doing for care leavers? So I'll continue to do that as well. I think the other thing we can look at if needed is, you know, speaking to some of the other people across the council. So if you imagine the council employs a lot of people, about 5,000 people, and we're actually, if you think of a lot of businesses, they just focus on one thing, whereas as a council, we're like lots and lots of little businesses all under one big umbrella. So for me, you know, it's knowing and picking up, you know, what support care leavers need or young people need as they're about to graduate. You know, what are they interested in? What are they thinking about doing? And what additional support can we offer to help them on whatever pathway they're deciding to do? So, again, I know, for example, there was somebody that graduated with a law degree. We've got a law team, so again a legal team, so again, you know, if there's something we can provide, even if it's work experience to help you on that ladder towards getting a job, then absolutely we need to be doing that. And I'll keep an eye on that, and I know Alison Hines champions that as well. Melissa, over to you.
You're on.
Care leavers often struggle when first entering the workforce for a number of reasons. How will you increase the presence of ring-fenced apprenticeships within the local authority for care-experienced young people?
You're on.
Thank you. So thanks, Melissa. So we've recently had a discussion about apprenticeships at our leadership forum. So our leadership forum is where all the heads of service from across the council get together, and we meet on a monthly basis to look at some of the key priorities. And last month we looked at our apprenticeships. And Paula Warrilow, for some of you who might know Paula, was doing a bit of a presentation to heads of service to say this is how many apprenticeships we've had. I was really proud to hear how many apprenticeships in children's we've got. So I think we've probably got more than 2 general apprenticeships, but obviously we've got two specific ones that are ring fenced for care leavers, and we're just in the process, I think, of creating 2 others as well. But my challenge back to Leadership Forum was creating apprenticeships and targeting some of those children who need our support most, such as care leavers. Shouldn't just be a role and responsibility for children's services. It should be something that as a council we all pick up. So we challenged everybody, and every head of service was asked to go away and to look within their service areas, one, about whether they could change any posts into an apprenticeship, and secondly, to increase the number of apprenticeships that we ring fenced specifically for either care experienced young people or also young people with special educational needs and disabilities. So every head of service has been asked to do that, and they've got to feedback next month. For me, we need to be a role model across the city in terms of corporate parenting and supporting our own children, and our own young people like yourselves. So it's something that I will continue to do. If I have discussions with the police or with health or with other key partners, then I'll always raise it as well. I'll always raise what are they doing specifically for our care experienced young people.
You're on, Kate.
So, care experienced young people often enter unhealthy or abusive relationships, which a lot of the time leads to added trauma. So, how are you going to support, encourage and educate young people in developing healthy relationships?
You're on.
Thank you. So I have recently been updated about an exciting project that we're involved in, and I think it's called gamification. Supporting, I suppose, the emotional well-being of our young people is really, really important. As Casey said, many young people, unfortunately, who come into our care have experienced unhealthy relationships, which increases and impacts on their confidence, their emotional well-being, their morale, and it's something that we really need to work with you. So having role models is really, really important, and having really good role models. So I hope through, our foster carers, through your relationships with housing support workers, YPAs, social workers, teachers, promotes and provides some good role models for you. But the other thing that we've been involved in is working with a West Midlands organisation called the Violence Reduction Unit, who have provided some funding for us to help to work with an online gaming service to support our young people in understanding what healthy relationships are. So I know that Click have helped to design this approach. I think the online gaming company are saying they've never done anything like this before, that potentially this might be something that we can sell to other local authorities, and also something that, whilst at the moment it's focused on working with our children and young people in care or care experienced young people, that it might be something that we could actually widen out to other vulnerable young people. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear more about it. And to actually see it, and hopefully, you know, if you are struggling, then I really hope you have got those relationships with your YPAs or with somebody, with another adult that you trust, who you can open up to and ask for some help.
Thank you, Emma. A lot of young people have expressed that provisions for mental health they receive don't work. For example, CAMS. How are you going to improve the current emotional wellbeing services to young people to ensure the provisions they have received have been effective? You're on.
Okay. Again, a really important question, and something that, you know, I hear, I listen to what our social workers are saying, and I know that that young people aren't always happy about the support that they receive around emotional health and well-being. So we are trying to listen to you around this. I know during the pandemic we successfully extended the online provision of COOTH and the support that Base 25 were providing to specifically our care leavers, and also that the Reach Living Care team meets regularly with colleagues in adult services to ensure that the support that's being offered is appropriate and is meeting the needs of our individuals. And meeting the needs of our looked after children. I know that the Care Leavers Forum has been working with colleagues in commissioning to ensure that the new service that we're looking to go out and procure will also meet the needs of care leavers moving forward. So yeah, it's something that we're passionate about. It's something that I'm passionate about. I think there is lots and lots of support out there for young people and to support their emotional health and well-being. And actually, in light of the pandemic, there's never been a more important time. But I think it's quite difficult sometimes to navigate your way around what that support looks like, and what's the right support for young people at the right time. So that's part of the work that we're currently doing, and hopefully we'll continue to work with you on that. Next question. I can just see lots.
So the final question from me, Emma, is as we are aware, we successfully won the bid for the house project, and since that have successfully launched the house project with a good number of young people now moving into their houses. This is a really exciting scheme. And anybody that doesn't know about it, I definitely encourage them to go and have a look. But Emma, what are the future development plans for the house project?
Okay, I am really proud of everybody that's been involved in the house project. I was involved when the National House Project initially approached us. And I helped and supported Alison Hines to get the first project off the ground and running. And I know it's something that Councillor Reynolds, who is our cabinet member for children and young people, it was something that he was really passionate about, and one of the first initiatives, I suppose, for children and young people that he supported and took to Cabinet, and Cabinet approved the funding for it. We're the first one in the country that has funded it ourselves, so most of the other local authorities have had some central funding from central government. and also we're the first one that partnered up with a private company to support young people. And again, that's really innovative. Reconomy, who are the company that partnered up with us, the chief exec comes from Wolverhampton, and he was really passionate about making a difference for young people in Wolverhampton. So I know we've worked closely with that company around, and they've provided some support. And I think we've almost got all of our young people in their own flats now. I think last week I was signing some more deeds for our young people. So I'm really looking forward to when we can get out and about and properly visit to visit a couple of our young people and see how well they're doing in their flats. I think the key thing about the house project is that it's young people supporting each other, and also that you have the time to prepare for independence, so that it's done at your own pace, with the support of other people who are going through exactly the same thing, and it's almost you own the journey that you're being taken on, rather than getting to a certain age and you're having to move out into independence. So I think it's worked really, really well, even despite the pandemic hitting us in the middle of it. I think we're only a few months behind in terms of our timelines that we planned for it, and I know we're just in the process of planning for the second cohort of young people to go through the house project, so we will continue to fund it from our perspective. I think we've learnt lessons from the first project, and we're making those changes for the second cohort, so that things like, I think we've gone out and specifically recruited to a project lead, because we know that that the people involved in it have struggled to juggle a number of different roles, and we're just in the process of pulling together almost a bit of a report and reflections and evaluation of the first housing project to take to cabinet members, because they embraced the principle and the project so much that we think it's really important that we tell them about the journey that our young people have been on, but also how successful it is. It's really important that we have choices for our children and young people as they near independence. And the house project is one of those, amongst a number of other accommodation options that we have available, both to provide choices for you, but also to meet the varying needs. Melissa?
So the last question we have for you this evening is participation with care leavers events such as Care Leavers Forum and the annual offer review has been low for several months. What ideas do you have to further improve young people's participation in these type of events?
Thank you, Melissa. For me, communication, participation, engagement and co-production is really, really important with everybody that we work with. Doing that with and communicating with social workers, with other agencies, with parents is really important. But in order to make sure that children and young people are at the heart of everything that we do, we need to hear from you. We need to hear your experiences. We need to listen, and we need to learn, and we need to then act upon those. So it's a real high priority for me, and is vital to ensure that we can provide the right support and information for you. And I hope that a number of you were involved in the developments around the #Yes strategy, which absolutely has engagement with young people at the centre, at the heart of it, and more so than that we really increase how we co-produce things with you. We haven't been through it. We can't put ourselves in your shoes. And that's why hearing and talking and listening to you is really important. So we've set up a young person's communications reference group, and one of the key things I suppose that that we know is the best way of communicating with you is through social media. So I know that that group is really trying to look at how we use social media to engage with you and what information we share with you through that. I think the other thing is about you challenging each other to participate. You know, we can do as much as we can to give you a voice and to support that, but actually we can't be your voice, nor do we want to be your voice. So I think the more of you that can challenge each other to and encourage each other to be involved in the forums, then the better, because again, that increases the strength of your voice, but also it provides, as we've heard through things like the House Project, I know the Children in Care Council, CLIC, you also develop relationships, those peer relationships that I think you will all say are really important for you, and I've seen some of you grow as a result of those relationships, so that's really, really important. So I think challenging each other and encouraging each other, feeding in to the different groups that we've had, using social media, and actually I suppose for me, whilst we can't have as much face-to-face contact as we would like, then actually it's a little bit easier to engage and to participate in some of these forums, because you don't even need to leave your house really to do it. So, you know, trying to, I suppose, work out what some of the barriers might be, listening to young people about what those barriers might be, and trying to think about how we can address those and make it easier to encourage young people to participate is really key. But anything and any ideas that you think, or you know, we might need to consider this or that, then please escalate to us and we'll see how we can help you do that.
Thank you, Emma. So that brings us to the end of this Q&A session. Thank you, Emma, for giving us the time to make today's event possible. We understand and appreciate that you are very busy, making it even more meaningful that you agreed to be with us here today. I'm sure that the answers you have provided will excite young people with what the council is doing to support them and the developments being made over the next 12 months. We also hope that the questions and answers here today reassure young people leaving care that the council is doing the best it can to support them, maximise opportunity and ensure that they reach their full potential. Also, do not forget that this session will be available on the Wolves Children in Care website for you to watch in your own time. Thank you to everyone who attended today. Goodbye and take care.